The story itself, Jim, once you realize that now it's Disney and Comcast, right. It's Hulu. So, you're not going to stay 30% forever, probably. So in talks, I would think you're in permanent talks about what to do with this. So the question is whether are the talks near some type of real resolution, or are they preliminary, or are they just overtures, or do you have any insight into what this means?
They ought to be in talks, or they ought to be.
You'd be surprised if they weren't.
Exactly. I mean, first of all, most of these joint ventures do not work. I think Hulu has been hobbled from the beginning by having 3 ownerships.
By how long?
I mean, look,
nobody's making the decisions.
You've got Netflix with 100, pushing up towards 150 million subscribers or whatever. Hulu has 25 million. I mean, that kind of tells the story right there. But then now we've got just Comcast and Disney. Comcast and Disney in the same room. I mean, they are, number one, they're fierce competitors. 2, Comcast has snatched Sky TV away from Disney after making another bid for Fox, which drove up the cost. I mean, I can't even imagine them having to sit down together, let alone plan a strategy for Hulu. And now Disney Plus is coming into the picture, which would be a direct competitor. This is a completely untenable situation.
Over the top.
Yeah, so they've got to find a way of working this out. Disney ought to get it all. I mean, the alternative model would be something like ESPN, where, remember, Disney only, it owns 80% of it. Hearst is a very, nice 20% owner that doesn't interfere and doesn't compete with Disney. They're a happy investor, but Comcast doesn't want to do that with 30% of Hulu. So they've got to do something. I think it makes a lot of sense for Disney. They want to get to 100 million, they said, on Disney Plus. They get total control of Hulu, they can start, working those things together. They've got 25 million right off the bat. That's a big step forward.
Is there any reason?
But does Comcast want to help them with their OTT product by getting out of the way and letting them take that? I mean, that's why you wonder what's the price target.
Play a spoiler for as long as you could, especially if you don't know whether the Netflix valuation increase is going to be duplicated. Do you think the Netflix? Do you think it can happen? It's not a strategy, but it'd be fun.
But you have Carl Icahn on your board.
Okay, so you got 39 billion in debt. This would give you 5 if you sold it for where it's valued now, right? That's nice. But what if you could? Will it be worth 30 someday? Will it be worth 50 Hulu someday? And then you wait around, and you don't want to sell too early. You want to let your profits run, don't you? Or what if it's never worth that?
I don't see being a passive investor there or trying to somehow muck up the future of something you own 30% of just to spite Disney really makes any sense. I mean, and also, let's face it, whether they want to help Disney or not, they don't want to help Disney. They're a major competitor, but there is a number at which it's compelling for Comcast to sell. I don't know. I mean, Hulu loses money.
And they share in the losses too. We got to sit there.
Yeah, and there's only one buyer here. It's not like you're going to be out shopping and people are going to be knocking on your door to buy the minority stake in Hulu with Disney looming over you. But it's a valuable asset for Disney.
So who has the upper hand in these negotiations?
Well, that's a good question, but I think it's probably Disney. I mean, what's the alternative? Disney could kind of just let the thing languish while it builds up Disney Plus, and I don't see that there's anything good for Comcast about that. Now, Comcast also needs a direct, a streaming option for its content, and it's working. What it's doing with Sky seems really interesting. But it's not in the driver's seat here. It's got a 30% stake in a money-losing streaming thing in a highly competitive environment.
But maybe this is the timing when everybody's trying to launch their own OTT. Maybe that is the time.
But Disney really can't make a go of it until it's got all of it.
Well, I don't think Disney wants to exactly. I mean, Disney can do a lot.
Maybe they'll sell to Comcast and keep Disney Plus.
Well, that's an interesting idea, but no, that's not going to happen.
Well, the question is, who's got them? Everybody just made all these big acquisitions.
It's not going to put its content on a rival service at all.
You know who has the upper hand in these negotiations? Netflix. Reed Hastings has the upper hand. Why is that the answer? Because everybody is chasing Netflix. They have an 8-year head start.
I thought that was the case until this week, and then I started looking into some of the things that were just published. I think the Wall Street Journal or somebody put it, yesterday's front page on the Wall Street Journal said that something more than 75% of viewing time on Netflix is spent on the libraries, which are these reruns. And if you've got to pay $100 million to keep a show like Friends around, they had to triple the price that they were paying just to keep it on for a year when AT&T doesn't even launch its own over the top until the end of this year. And now you've got The Office coming up that NBC Universal is going to be in talks with them to do it. It's going to get to be a more expensive proposition. And if all these guys pull back their content.
So here's the pushback. A Band-Aid is an adhesive strip. We call it a Band-Aid. Q-tips are cotton swabs. We call them Q-tips.
That's true.
Jell-O is gelatin. We call it gel. What's my point?
Yeah.
Netflix has become. You don't talk about Hulu and chill.
No, but I do talk about
Netflix.
TiVo, and nobody owns a TiVo anymore.
Well, but you understand what I'm saying. So I think Netflix has such a head start. It doesn't always work. I'm betting that this will continue to work.
Sports drinks are Gatorade, but it tastes like sweat.
It does. Is Gatorade the most awful thing ever? Jim Stewart will tell you. I mean, I don't know if they're a sponsor. I apologize if they are. But it's
sweat and urine are basically the same.
I didn't know that.
Way to take it down another level.
Yeah.
But you're like it's biotech majors, right?
Could I just also make the point that it's not entirely clear that you have to own these delivery systems, that like NBC, Comcast, they can still license, they can sell, they can provide, they could still be selling their content to Hulu. They don't have to own Hulu to have the content on there.
I agree. And I think from what we heard yesterday from Brian Roberts, I think that might be the plan, because we asked him about some of those things too. And to me, it sounded like, well, it's an open negotiation, and we're trying to make those decisions right now. But, give me your best offer type of situation.
Right.
And I think that's what it's probably going to be, because all of these companies have debt to pay down too.
You really need to know whether, Hulu loses money. You need to know whether $15 billion is exorbitantly high for a valuation or whether it's exorbitantly low. You need to make that determination. I don't know. Do you?
Well, what I know is that they all have very highly paid investment bankers who are doing discounted cash flow analysis and plugging in assumptions that can produce just about any number you want.
Right, $120 billion.
The fact that it's losing money doesn't mean it's not valuable. Look at some of these companies going public.
Okay.
You model it out into the future, and I don't know exactly what parameters to put in there.
You don't want to hold on to your MySpace stake.
No.
You know what I mean? How much did they pay? It was like $10 billion at one point, and then it went to zero, right?
No, and again, I think does Disney keep it as a separate brand? That's a good question, if it gets it. And does it sort of merge it into Disney Plus? I mean, Iger said he doesn't want to turn this into another cable thing where you get 100 pieces of something you don't really want. But Disney would have a lot of options for, tying them together, offering pricing packages that make them attractive, and converting the Hulu subscribers into Disney Plus. So there's a lot for Disney to get.
What happened on that day they outlined Disney Plus? Did that make sense, that move in the stock?
Well, I think they did a fantastic job on that, and they really did succeed in starting to get a Netflix halo around them a little bit. I think from that perspective, yes, it makes sense. But what I have said about the stock is they haven't actually solved the ESPN problem yet, which is, the declining cable. It is still essentially the revenue, and very good revenue, is coming from the cable model, and they have not told us yet how they are going to transition ESPN into the direct to consumer.
It's like watching CNN anyway, so they got to fix that first.
But I tip my hat to Disney. They changed the subject there. They got people to stop thinking about ESPN, which they were obsessed about, and suddenly we're all talking about, oh my God, Disney Plus, we've got to have it. So they did a great job on that.